rescue the second maiden, and you'll get a little backstory on how the Dark World came to be. Apparently, Ganondorf made his way into the Dark World and released his evil intentions when he collected. Okay. When he collected the Triforce, he released his evil intentions onto the world, creating this horrible world in which we are standing currently. However, he did not know how to get back to the light world. So his power, although great, is still contained to the Dark World. He's using the Dark Wizard Aghanim to help him make a opening so he can actually take his army, bring his army over to the light world. So that's pretty much what the maiden told us. She just gave us a little bit of backstory. And that's it. We now have the hookshot, which is, like I said, the coolest item. I mean, the boomerang still has its place, don't get me wrong. The boomerang is by no means obsolete. I just happen to like the hookshot a lot better. With hookshot in hand, we can now access more of this world. Now, in the episode, not the last episode, but the one before that, I showed how you can actually make your way to different parts of the world even though you don't have the hookshot. You can go to the Dark Woods, the Lost Woods, I mean, and use the transport there to go into the village. But this is the true way to do it. Just hookshot over the gap in the water. I really want to get rid of these guys before I bump into that tree. So you would have noticed earlier that I tried to hookshot these guys. The hookshot does nothing to them, but the boomerang still does. So like I said, the boomerang is not obsolete. It still has its uses. Let's talk to this tree. Yeah, he's one of the good trees. He's going to say something to me. He's not seen a normal person in a long time. Surprisingly, the Triforce created this world to fulfill Ganon's wish. What is Ganon's wish, you ask? It is to rule the entire cosmos. Don't you think it might be possible with the power of the Triforce behind you? So, not really a hint, but kind of cool to get a little more backstory. I always like a little backstory. So, I'm going to, before I head over to the next area, I just want to do something really quickly. We're going to head to the entrance to Death Mountain, but dark. The dark Death Mountain entrance. Which is in the exact same spot as it is in the light world. But of course, instead of leading to Death Mountain, it's going to have a separate, alternate destination. I'll give a piece of heart to the person who wears the cape. Interesting. So you can see a piece of heart up there. Here we have some of these obnoxious jellyfish guys who I hope you hate as much as I do. Now that we have the hookshot, we can actually use it to cross that little gap. And we're going to drop down into this one. That is not what we wanted to do. So let's do that again. Oh, let's try this then. Right, with the cape. With the cape, you can cross that without being hit. How interesting. With that, we have one more heart container. Now those guys, they're like the crows. They look like pterodactyls. They will do quite a bit of damage. Just saying. Some of these creatures don't look like they're that tough, but they, remember, are incredibly evil. Incredibly evil. So, the Dark World also contains this little cabin here. If you want to go in it, you can buy bombs, a shield, and a red potion. I'm not really interested in any of that right now. Where we are headed is dungeon number 3 in the Skull Woods. Now, before I talk about Skull Woods, you may be wondering why they sell shields. And the reason is, as I mentioned, there are some enemies in the Dark World that, those plant-looking things, that extend their tongues, they will steal your shield. Very much like likes, very much like likes in previous and later Zelda games. If you get stuck by them, they may steal your shield. They may steal all kinds of items from you. If they do steal your shield, you of course have to buy another one, and then go back to the Waterfall of Wishing, throw your shield back inside, and you know, get the red shield again. So it's not the end of the world. It is annoying, but you have to do what you have to do. Now, the Skull Woods, which is where we are. When I was little, this place gave me the creeps. Playing as an adult, I haven't played it in a long time, like I mentioned earlier. But I do remember that this dungeon, the Skull Woods dungeon, is the creepiest level in this, to me, the creepiest level in this game. Now, it's one of those levels where you can really get away with not doing all of the dungeon. In fact, if I had to guess, I would say about a third of it can be completely bypassed. And I'm going to try to do that. So, the place I'm trying to head, this dungeon has 3 different entrances. And I'm trying to find the right one, because I really want to skip as much of it as I can. Oh, excuse me, sir. Are you a good tree? Certainly are not. Now you see there are Poes in this this world as well, and as you would imagine, they're a lot tougher and more dangerous than they are in the light world. Those are the plants I'm talking about. Those guys you want to avoid. Those are the ones that they'll stick their tongue out and they'll try to steal your treasure. If I could just find... Alright, here we go. You will see that this is a very similar place to the light world. If you remember, there was a very similar spot in the Lost Woods where there is a formation of bushes, and if you cut the middle bush, there's a hole. Well, find that spot in this level, and then head this way. This is the entrance we want to take. So, let's go ahead and go into this, the creepiest dungeon of all. Here we will encounter a new enemy, the Gibdos. For those of you who have played other Legend of Zelda games, you will recognize them immediately. They're mummies. Similar to other Zelda games, wow. They're very similar to Stalfos Knights in that they just walk around aimlessly. They're not really hurting anyone. And as you can see, I've been snagged by the Wall Master. Now, the Wall Master in this game is not a dangerous enemy in that it does no damage to you, but it is quite the annoying enemy. What the Wall Master does is, of course, grab you and send you to the beginning of the dungeon. What does that mean for you? Well, it's really not that big of a deal. You know, you go back to the beginning of the dungeon. Oh well. The problem is, no matter how many times you kill it, it will always come back. There's an endless supply. So just hear for the little sound it makes when it drops from the ceiling and run away. Make sure you're on the right side. It grabbed me again. Now, the only issue with the Wall Master is that any enemy that you have defeated will return. So that is a bit of an annoyance. Aside from that, really the Wall Masters, I mean, they don't do any damage when they grab you. So they're more of an annoyance than anything else. And quite an annoyance at that. So it's best to not stand still for too long while you're in this dungeon. Now that is an explodable wall, so let's do so and explode it. Now, while entirely not necessary to... That was a complete waste. Not necessary to kill all of the enemies here. It actually also doesn't hurt to do so. Okay, here's a new hazard. That glowing ball of yellowness is quite troublesome. Oh my, so annoying. If that light touches you, it will turn you into the bunny. You will be bunny. Meaning, of course, you cannot use any items. So, of course, avoid that by any means necessary. So annoying, those guys, huh? So here we are at another entrance to this temple. Like I said, this temple has lots of entrances. And it can be a little bit annoying, to be sure. Now, over here on the left, you can see that horrible-looking, nasty, creepy-looking thing. That is our eventual goal. I don't think that's the right hole. Well, now we have this key, so I think, if I remember correctly, we need to go back inside. So let's do so now. Back in the dungeon, we want to make our way actually back to where we first came in, and not get hit by everything along the way. Oh, wrong item. That was almost deadly. these Gibdos do a lot more damage than the Stalfos do. Sometimes they do leave. No, nothing for me this time. Well, regardless, we're going to make our way back over. I remember that there is a hole we have to drop into. And if I remember correctly, it is this hole. So let's try that now. I really hate those guys, as you know. I really just want to see if I can collect another heart without actually getting hit. Well, and I just ran into it. As I mentioned, this level scared me a lot when I was a kid, and maybe you can see why. There are skeletons trapped in the wall. I mean, how creepy does this level need to get? There's a bombable wall here, and if I remember, there is a way you can sneak by here like that. How awesome, right? I think so. You don't actually have to switch the floors around. You can pull this lever and it will bomb the wall, allowing you access to the only item in this level that is necessary. The fire rod. Similar to the ice rod, but, you know, fire instead of ice. And ladies and gentlemen, that is it for this level, this dungeon. We're done here. We have no more business. If I could just get a heart. I hate trying to find hearts and getting hit by enemies instead. It is very demoralizing. Regardless, like I mentioned, we are done here. Forget the map, forget the compass, get out. If you're one of those people that just has to be a, completionist and you want to, wander around the dungeon finding all the stuff, I am not here to stop you. I am just letting you know I'm not doing that. I'm trying to be, like I said, as straightforward as I can, and finding all those items to me is not being straightforward. It's putting yourself at unnecessary risk. So in my opinion, we're done. Now, if you grab the key from the pot in the last room we were in, you have an extra key. If not, well, you're kind of screwed and you're going to have to go around trying to find the key at the bottom of that little maze. And yes, there are wall masters in this room. And that can be a huge pain. Because as you can see, the amount of room that you have to maneuver is extremely limited. So don't be surprised if you find yourself falling or getting caught by the wall master at least a few times. Alright. Trying to not get completely messed up by this. It's kind of a pain, if we're being honest. Alright, I can grab onto the lantern there. once an enemy has been frozen, hitting him again with the shield does nothing. So just keep that in mind. Wish I could knock him into the pit. Killing these guys is not necessary, but it's going to make the next part a little bit easier. So what we want to do is equip said fire rod that we just received. Now you may think, why don't I just use the lantern? You won't have time. I promise you, you won't have time. The lanterns that you lit with the lamp will actually extinguish before you can get to them, I'm pretty sure. Now you may be wondering, do I push one of these? What do I do? I think you want to cut those vines. I think the Helmosaurus can be defeated. Well, not defeated, but frozen with a swing of that old awesome item, the hookshot. All right, the Gibdos had the key, and we definitely wanted the key. We're getting closer. All right, I'll say this right now. The following enemy, the following boss in this level is not only one of the creepiest in my opinion, but also one of the most unfair. I'm gonna pause it so I don't have to keep dodging those wall masters. We're about to fight the butterfly boss. I believe the name is Mothra. The floor moves. There are spikes on the ground. He's floating around trying to touch you. Plus he's shooting out fireballs at you. Now, we are well equipped with 1 potion of health and 2 fairies, so we should be okay. So actually, let's get in there and fight. If I remember correctly, you can actually kill it with the hammer, believe it or not. So that's what I'm going to go in with. Welcome to the creepiest enemy in my opinion. Alright. Extremely difficult to hit with the hammer. Oh, the floor also changes direction, and we're dead. Come on. Alright, I think it's time we change strategies here. And we're dead again. Alright, time to be a little more careful. Well, whatever. He's dead. And we can collect our third, crystal. Link, because of you, I can escape from the clutches of evil monsters. Thank you. Do you know the prophecy of the Great Cataclysm? This is the way I heard it. If a person who has an evil heart gets the Triforce, a hero is destined to appear. And he alone must face the person who began the Great Cataclysm. If the evil one destroys the hero, nothing can save the world from his wicked reign. Only a person of the Knights of Hyrule, who protected the royalty of Hylia, can become the hero. You are of their bloodline, aren't you? Then you must rescue Zelda without fail. And there you go, guys. One more dungeon down, and we can now tackle the 4th dungeon. The 4th maiden, the 4th crystal, which is, of course, in the village of outcasts, which is really close by. So, in the next episode, that is exactly what we will be doing. We're going to head into the village. We're going to do that 4th dungeon, and we're going to collect our 4th crystal. So, until that time, I hope you will join me again. This is The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past.